Tucker Carlson sat down with this supposed journalist, Alex Brussawitz. Yes, he is part of the tribe, in case you were wondering. But he got really aggressive. I've never seen anybody get this aggressive in Tucker's house, where this took place, regarding what he did or did not say regarding Israel and Charlie Kirk's assassination.
By the way, like I did see something that you were on a podcast yesterday. You said you think Israel killed Charlie Kirk.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
Okay, what was the clip then?
I said I've never said that.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, including in the Trump administration, who think that. However, there's no proof of that.
Yeah.
What I said was two things. One, I don't know when the command came down and from whom that we have to trust everything federal law enforcement says, but I'm not obeying that. We have a moral obligation to push federal law enforcement to do the job we pay them to do, which is to investigate the crimes fully. And so, for example, if there are people who predicted Charlie's death on Twitter, I think the rest of us can expect that they've been hauled in by the FBI for questioning, and I don't think they have been.
So, I don't know about that, but okay. I do know what what you're talking about, the Discord chats.
No, I'm specifically talking
TikTok.
I'm talking about the Twitter posts that seemed to predict Charlie's death. Maybe that
I don't know if that's been investigated. I would love for that to be.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two, just because someone is shot by one person doesn't mean others weren't involved. And don't berate me into accepting that assumption, because I would never accept that. Why would I assume that?
Why is he trying to go after Tucker in this instance? Was he told to give him a hard time when he got on the podcast somehow?
No, he was told to go on there and make amends in such a way that he was still defending Israel. This is a very, very difficult needle to thread. And I think what you saw right there, actually. So Alex Brussawitz he's an operative. He's a political operative. He owns consulting firms. He owns more than one. And this is what he does. So the right recognizes the powers that be on the right recognize that the right is pissed about Israel, and they're starting to wake up. They're very angry. You guys have no idea how many messages I get, how many new followers I get. I used to get a couple a week, maybe like one or two a week. The early October 7th days, some days would be, some weeks would be more, some weeks would be less. I get 4 or 5 messages a day from women like me, like MAGA moms, okay? Like total right wing. And so many were like, oh my God, you were so right. I've had so many people apologize to me recently. I forget sometimes that people are still waking up. So I've had, I would say, I don't know, maybe 10 messages from people saying, I gave you a hard time, or I didn't believe you about Israel, and now I see it. Oh my God, I can't. And once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you become obsessed.
Correct. Okay? Well, because this is the great awakening that's happening in this country, and we're going to do a brief interlude. We're going to pull this clip, and we're going to pull the one where Brussawitz is claiming that Tucker said something when in fact this is what
Kirk
he actually
was
said.
murdered.
Yeah.
And he was not murdered for his opinions on transgenderism, obviously. He was, I believe, and most people who knew him well as I did and was friends with him as I was, believe he was most likely murdered for his evolving views on Israel. So,
what else could it be? He didn't say that Israel did the deed, but he did say that his changing view on Israel, which is a cornerstone of the evangelical rights takeover of the Republican Party and one half of the political dynamic within the United States. I mean, you'd have to be blind not to see it. And this is one of the things that a lot of people understand about the future of politics, which is why the Democratic Party hierarchy is absolutely flipping out right now. They're not flipping out over Bernie Sanders or AOC. They're flipping out over Zoran Mamdani, because he is the future and he is very effective at what he's doing. I mean, this guy has canceled city contracts between New York City and Tel Aviv. I mean, this is a guy who really has his shit together. Now, again, as I say to you, I say to anybody else, and I'm in commercial real estate. You want to have a conversation about rent freezes? There's a conversation to be had there. But when it comes to this particular issue, he is the best of the best in the United States, which is why they're losing their mind. Now, when they say that they're going to potentially support Jeffries, it's because now they've got Jeffries' balls in a sling, because he can't do shit now unless he knows that they're going to come after him in 2 years, and they will come after him. So I think that this is a very seminal moment here where the bridging is really starting to happen amongst a lot of different working class groups that the powers that be don't know what the fuck to do now. And when Tucker Carlson is saying this, oh, you got you got much bigger problems than you could possibly imagine.
Oh, you do, because the actual, and I know you guys know, I know you guys talk about it all the time. The actual divide is the socioeconomic divide, right? And if you can ever bridge that, right? You are a threat to the power. You are the threat to the powers that be, to the power structures. Every single aspect of our society is controlled by these power structures, and they absolutely depend on us. I actually have one of my craziest conspiracy theories is actually the push on the sports ball, football, baseball, whatever, is actually a reinforcement of the binary choice between team A and team B, right? But it's always the same, right? So it's whether it's even with football, the football is of course the most perfect one, because it always comes down between the American Football League and the National Football League, but it's the same effing game, right? And so it is this, and so I actually think that we're trained from the time that we're children to think that there's only two options always, and they always scare us back. I don't know if you guys were watching Matt Walsh earlier this week, but he said when the handful of DSA candidates won, which is just so funny to me that they freaked out so bad, because literally pretty much the only difference between a lot of these guys, perhaps the DSA candidates might actually follow through with the things that they say, but it's not like
they will. That's the
right. It's not like Dan Goldman wasn't practically talking. He would be talking out his ass about all this stuff, everything except Israel, right? So he was all about.
You bring up a very good point, and this is, and some people Jen's mentioned it, that Brad Lander's a liberal Zionist. I'm sure he's a liberal Zionist, but you know what Brad Lander is? He's a smart politician. He knows where his bread is buttered, and he understands that Zoran's the boss, he's in charge. And if you get out of line, it's not going to end well. And he's already displayed that in a multitude of ways in that election. And on top of everything else, I don't want heirs to the Levi Strauss billionaire fortune doing public service. We don't need you doing that. Now, you can agree to, or we could agree to disagree whether Claire Valdez or Darlisa Chevalier, from a socialist, or even, dare I say, especially with Chevalier, a communist perspective, should be governing us. But I will say this: I will take them over a Dan Goldman any day of the fucking week on Capitol Hill. That's that. And anybody who disagrees with that, you're a cuck for the billionaire class. Don't be one. There's a lot of different ways that we could solve problems, which is why, as you know, I love Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is as true conservative as it gets, and he doesn't answer to anybody other than himself and his constituents. And that is exactly what we need more of in the United States.
Yeah. It's funny enough, I didn't actually the only one I paid attention to, of course, was Jose Vega, because I really like him. I adore him. Unfortunately, Richie Torres again won out. He has a very strong hold on, there's a large Jewish, conservative Jewish constituency within Richie Torres's, within that district. So I don't know that much about any of the other candidates. I saw the freak out though, of course. I'm just laughing to it.
And I also want to point out, and I said this before, I'm not a fan of Piker, and I probably never will be. However, I want to give him credit. He is using his platform to get his people on the phones. They are phone banking.
Yeah,
they are doing tens of thousands of calls. If you're doing it for that purpose, man, hey, I applaud you. I give you credit, because that's what you should be. That's what people who have platforms that size, that's what they should be doing.
Yeah, and Charlie Kirk had that platform.
Yes.
And just think, if he had been able to rally for Thomas Massie, well, it never would have happened. It just never would have effing happened. And that's why I don't know that much about. I don't have strong opinions about people on the left. I mostly only focus on the right. I'll be honest with you. I just don't have that strong. I know who controls this country, and it is the corporate oligarch, which definitely leans right for the most part. And so I don't stress about far left. If somebody wins, comes in. And again, we've seen this before with like the AOCs and whatnot, I'm always like, all right, we'll see how they are when they actually get in there. I don't have high hopes for anyone.
I'll tell you one thing, and I'm going to pull up the Tucker clip to finish out what he was saying with Brussawitz. Whatever ambitions AOC may have had, probably still has, she now officially has taken a backseat to Zoran, and she's never getting it back. So you had your chance and you blew it. And now with people like Valdez and Chevalier, you can kiss it goodbye. So maybe she'll have some role to play, but in terms of her being a boss lady, and she comes off like such a fucking mean girl. I mean, you're a woman, Jen. You guys probably identify this much better than I do. But from an objective perspective, when I look at Alex, I see somebody who's got a very vindictive streak that people just don't understand. Like I can see that, and so
I see a pick-me girl. I see a girl who's been trying for a long time. See, I've been in her campaign finance. I know what she spends all her money on, and this girl spends money like ain't nobody's business.
Out of style.
It's
obscene. Out of style.
Obscene. Okay.
Well, I always said that the thing that always struck me was that she was, especially when she did that Vanity Fair cover in, I think, her second year when she did with Pelosi and a few others, I said, oh, she's into the life. Like she's into the life. And once you get into the life and know from a real world perspective, like Massey's he's a great contrast because he's like a Renaissance man. Like he's a real, like almost like a mad scientist. Like he doesn't need Capitol Hill. Whereas with Alex, this is all she's got. Like this is her life. And so you're going to do everything you can to protect it. And she certainly is. So let's finish out what this douchebag had to say regarding Tucker's language regarding Israel and his involvement with Charlie Kirk.
By the way, like I did see something that you were on a podcast yesterday. You said
than that. How would you know? You don't know. So stop yelling at me to accept a conclusion that you can't prove.
I hear you.
Why would you do that? This is my friend. I'm not and by the way, if I was murdered, I would expect people who loved me not to jump to unwarranted conclusions, but to press federal law enforcement to do its freaking job. Yeah. And stop calling people names because they're asking you to do your job.
I think a lot of people did jump to unwarranted conclusions.
Maybe.
Though.
I don't know if they're warranted or not.
And, right after the assassination, many people were with big platforms, not you, were saying that Israel was behind it.
Many people with big platforms were saying that he was killed for his views on transgenderism. And we don't know that, actually. We don't know anything.
But Charlie was killed as he was talking about transgender. And this guy, Tyler Robinson, seems to be in love with transgender people.
That may be absolutely true.
Honestly, Mel, when a guy like this talks like that, I want to just knock his fucking teeth out. Like I really do. Like
I nearly lost my shit last night over that exact comment. Okay, because I want to pull this up for you guys. Let me see. I'm going to share this for you real quick because what he said is actually significantly more preposterous than most people really realize.
I'm sure.
Okay, so there it is. Can you see it?
Yes. All right. So I'll pull this for a second and we'll pull this up. Here we go.
Okay. All right. So according to Alex Brussawitz, he shot Charlie when he was when he was answering a question about transgenders. Okay. So what we have to believe for this whole FedSlop narrative, okay, is that Tyler Robinson, who had never been to UVU before September 10th, all right, shows up. He scouts out the campus for about less than an hour because he's on the campus, then he's off the campus on the Ring doorbell, okay? And somehow he figures out before it's even set up exactly where he needs to be, exactly when he needs to be there in order to murder Charlie Kirk. He directly walks from God knows where. We've never actually been told where he's actually coming from. but he's walking with the rifle shoved down his pants the whole time. He finally makes his way over to the top of the Losi Center at approximately 12:17. He climbs over this short wall and he appears to crouch down on the north side. There's this little building up at the top. He's crouching down and he waits there for 5 minutes. Okay. Then he just hears Hunter Kozak just out of nowhere. He just hears it that he's talking about the transgenders. Well, I'm here to avenge the transgenders. So he hops up, he runs across the roof, he drops down with his book back. Okay. He sets the rifle that he has actually reassembled that in that 5 minutes. He had reassembled, screwed it all back together, got the scope all realigned and everything, sets it up. And within 45 seconds, all right, so technically 1 minute, they do round, even though that's actually not correct, but we're going to give him 1 minute. And that's when Hunter Kozak asks his very next question. And what do you know? It's again about trans shooters. What are the effing odds that Tyler Robinson has that kind of timing? Okay. When you can't even friggin' hear the questions being asked if you listen to any audio recording set from outside the amphitheater. What are the freaking odds of that? I mean, are we allowed to ask questions that simple? No, apparently not. Apparently we're just supposed to effing accept it. That, yeah, and somebody said, the problem with Mossad is they're always a little too on the nose. Somebody said that last night. And I have to agree. They actually are. It's just a little tad too on the nose, right?
Oh my, the one thing about being a beautiful woman, and you are a beautiful woman, is that you got to get a kick out of I cannot even imagine the type of DMs you get. I would probably laugh. Some of them I would be like, all right, you seriously need to get your nuts cut off. But there's also ones where I'm like, oh my God. And in some ways, you gotta feel for them, because I do. And this is one of the things I'm going to get to after we finish our conversation, because I'm going to be talking about Asmongold. And it's like, people don't understand how somebody like that gets so big. And it's like, well, the truth is that there are a lot of guys out there that, they don't have interpersonal communication skills. Like, they just don't have them. And it is sad. And this is sort of what the digital age has become. In a way, it's our greatest asset and our greatest detriment at the same time, because the fact that we do have this digital age, we are able to have these communications. Yesteryear, Kennedy assassination, they were able to, listen, I'm sure a lot of people were questioning it, but it was a lot easier to sweep this stuff under the rug. Like, people didn't know that this was going on. Today, you really can't sweep this up anymore. They can watch us, Big Brother is in our business 24/7. That's what these things are for. This is really a listening device. Let's be honest. But at the same time, so much of us are aware. And I've always said the reason that the United States will never be taken over as a fascist country is because there's too many armed citizens in this country. If the people really had to rise up, they would.